And welcome. It is today, 6th of May, Thursday afternoon in Amsterdam, and this is our second use case webinar on tokenization of energy. My name is Alex Bausch. I'm the executive chairperson of 2Tokens Foundation, and today we will be introducing to you the working group of tokenizing energy. We have a full house today in this nice studio that's been provided by an exchange, and I will be introducing the crew to you momentarily. So today, the captain of the use case, the co-captain, I should say, is Jos Reuling. He's to my left. And Jos will be, introducing what we'll be doing with the workshop and everything. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, Jos?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. So my name is Jos Reuling. I'm an architect within IBM, part of the Global Competence Center for Energy, Utilities and Environments. And I'm working on blockchain projects in the energy industry. So most known is the crowd balancing platform, which we processed 35 million transactions last month. And also the Flex platform for aggregating flex energy in the ecosystem. And I'm more than thrilled to be involved in this initiative to create a token on top of those solution stacks.
Well, thank you, Jos. And by the way, Jos and I have been working on this use case for the better part of a year now.
Yep.
So we are very passionate about this, and we hope that you will become as passionate as we are. One person who is very passionate about this and who's been doing this for longer than I have, and he came from all the way down under, is Leon van den Berg. Leon, you're to my left. Show me that Aussie accent.
It's kind of mashed up as Canadian now.
Oh, okay.
But thank you, Alex, and thank you, 2Tokens and Exchange. I represent a company called Sonified. We provide a type of security element on top of solar panels. And with IBM's kind of vision, they've called this type of technology stack a crypto anchor. And we're learning how to work within the industry ecosystem. Alex and 2Tokens has provided a forum for us to get engaged with both financiers, project operators, and end customers. And we welcome this type of engagement. We're part of the ecosystem on generating green energy off of solar, and we want to showcase how our tech stack can help bring this data provenance and new data sets and business opportunities to renewables. Thank you.
Perfect. So I should say that in 15-20 minutes, I will be leaving this spot, and the coach and sponsor of this use case, Meindert, van Catena Power, will be taking over. He can introduce himself at that time. But also in the call today, and also part of the working group, is Professor Jaap Gordijn of the Free University of Amsterdam. Can you hear me, Jaap? And he's actually, due to Corona, he's dialed in through Zoom.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah, he cannot hear us. So Jaap is responsible for the business models and the ecosystem creation, and so we will hear from Jaap later in this web. Important to understand is that the 2Tokens. Oh, so Jaap, unmute. You're muted. Yeah, if you unmute, then we can hear you. Okay. What's important to understand from the 2Tokens Foundation is that this is a public initiative that is supported by a wide array of partners and people in the ecosystem. All the information that we create here with the working groups and in the use case is public information and is available to everybody. But we expect people to participate in the working shop, and we can only do this thanks to our partners who are a part of the 2Tokens Foundation. What's also important to understand is that the knowledge that we build here is some of it is open source, public domain, but a lot of it is not. So in the way the tokens are built, the way the token taxonomies are built, that is public domain, but the information that belongs to Catena or to Sonified, is their IP. I want to make that very clear. Having said that, it would be very interesting for you all to know, and we had over 100 people sign up, to know who actually dialed in. Is it? And so we'll be starting a little poll. This is supposed to be an interactive meeting, and I would like to remind you that we welcome your questions. We have people behind the scenes taking your questions. I might not always be there to answer the questions, but we will get back to you either on chat or later by mail to answer the questions that you might or might not have. Good. Jos, what are we going to do today?
So we are explaining the use case and going into the more on all the aspects and the ambition and the charter of the initiative, the parties that are involved. And then open up with a quest for participation in the different work streams that we have identified. So in the first poll, results are in. So I think 50% is reported as entrepreneur, some consultants, some energy experts, researcher, and one banker. Yeah? So that's a nice broad spread of expertise. Yeah?
Well, what's interesting is that tokenization is so broad, and we see that there's three silos. I always say it's three silos of people. You know, you have the bankers, you have the legal regulatory people, and you have the technical people. But in this case, we're in the energy systems, and there's a whole industry out there that have no clue about tokenization, and so. IBM, Jos, you're in both scenes, but your background is energy. What about you, Leon?
Well, I'm a latecomer to the actual energy industry. I started in Fintech, and really we're applying kind of Fintech principles on property rights that are derived from these types of solar and renewable assets. So this is really a mashup of learning over my couple decades of being an engineer. But we're really taking a fintech approach and blockchain tokenization on top of this energy asset class. And so it is really a combined convergence play that we're working through.
So we should have a very interesting panel here today, because Mindred, I know, is from the fintech industry, token, for digital assets. You're a PhD, you're really an engineer, a techie. Yep. And so is Jos to some extent. Yeah, you're the global CTO of smart grid infrastructures at IBM.
Blockchain solutions. Yeah. So and to chime in on what you just said, Alex. So we are very thrilled that there are so many different participants in this initiative, because as you already explained, so there are regulatory issues, there are legal issues, there are technical issues, IT issues. So it's a challenge no company can do alone. Yeah, so that's why I'm very enthusiastic about the 2-token initiative, to bring all the expertise to the table to make this a success. Yeah,
it should be noted that we are not an academic instance here. We like to produce results from business cases that are actually out there in the market. I know for a fact that you're in Australia tokenizing solar. Yep. That's actually being done today, and I know from Mindred that with Catena Power, you're taking digital assets and you're creating bonds out of this. So, what's important about this use case is that we show the world what is possible today and what will be possible next year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, indeed.
And in that respect, it's very good that we have banks, we have legal people. This is not just some Dutch initiative. Yeah, we originated here, but we have Energy Wien. In Vienna, they're doing it as well. So we want to show the world that this can be done and could be a great tool for the energy transition.
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are we going to do? Yeah. So that's then the next question, and I think it's stated here quite clearly. Yeah. So we are creating an energy token that enables fractional ownership of an energy generating asset, and that asset will create energy tokens that can be spent in netting constructions with your own energy consumption at any place at any time. So that means, for instance, you can charge your vehicle with your own generated energy, which is an obvious request, but not possible in today's setup of the energy market.
So what would be nice if I had my own wallet in my Tesla, and I could use the solar panels that I have in Adelaide or in southern Australia, and charge my Tesla with, with the solar in Australia. Is that it?
Well, that will be physical very hard to do because there are no grid connections.
No.
But like the current situation is that in your own neighborhood, you're allowed to do it in some sense, in some shape or form. A new European regulation is preparing for making it more possible. But on a national level, you should be able to do that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and international is a long shot. Yeah. So there are some players interested in that use case, but
but the tokenizing kilowatt hour, that is the far future.
We're captured by regulation, so there's a certain jurisdiction capture, but not just energy. I think the other exciting follow-on from tokenizing energy is the carbon credits or the incentives to use green energy. So what we want to do with our asset class is provide a green signal to incentivize people to consume energy when it is green and available on their local grid. A lot of people do not know when this is the case. And so if we can incentivize this either to drive your Tesla to a community solar park and say, I would like to charge, you may be incentivized to do that. If you change your behavior, then we're not really saving energy, but because you're still consuming it, but we're maybe creating what's called a negawatt. The watt that you did not use at nighttime which would maybe be a brown kilowatt hour. So what we can do is try maximize what we have and to do this in a dynamic and balancing way. And so I think you have to first be doing the measurements of all these endpoints. And this is really the first challenge in the industry, is the rigor that's needed to capture these metrics. And Jaap may want to chime in here as well on the concepts of this.
Mm-hmm. And in your opinion, and because you see a lot of initiatives all around the world, Jos,
yep.
And is the society and is the market ready for something like this? Because
I think so, and based on a number of observations. So one is that the analysis and the planning going on throughout Europe for the Green Deal, so the preparing the whole industry for the electrification, it is identified that the financial models are falling short. So, and this is one of the contributions that hopefully we can make. To make a new investment models possible on that fractional ownership in order to accelerate the energy transition. But I see also a demand from other parts in Europe, on the world, for instance, in Asia, where they want to have tokenization to have more transparency in the supply chain of fuel going into power plants in order to reduce their emissions and be very transparent on that. So, also in the finance industry, there is a lot of interest in being instrumental in the energy transition, as there is so much investments going on from the Biden administration, and also from the European Union.
So, and in addition, Jos, what I think is also important is that this opens up a wealth of business models.
Has something to say to Can you unmute him?
Oh, someone has to mute me, sorry. What I wanted to add is that what I heard from electricity companies, that tokenization will also offer a wealth of new business models that they are really looking for. And now the business models are fairly restricted to what's possible with the current metering solutions, but tokenization will open many, many more business models.
Good. I didn't hear him.
Dropped off. Yeah.
Nobody heard him.
Okay, so it's time for a new poll?
Yes, time for a new poll.
Okay. So,
and I think there's one more remark I want to make, because this is a broad scope, right? And we've been painting a distant future, but that's not what 2Tokens is about. We're about the here and now. So the scope for the use case that we'll be discussing here today is tokenizing a digital asset that happens to be a solar panel or a windmill or what have you, because that's the business case of Catena Power today. And that is the first step towards tokenizing energy. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. All right.
Yeah, so in the poll results are in, Alex, and it says that it holds a large potential, is 68%. It needs some regulatory approval, 20%, and it's already available, 14% of our respondents. And there are no respondents stating or agreeing with the statement that is not suitable for the energy industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So this might actually be a good case to look at the business case from Catena Investment, but it would be even better if Meindert was sitting here and talking about the business case, because he can talk about this better than I do. So this is where I take my cue and leave it to the three of you. If there are any more questions, please reach out to us. This is a recorded session. It will also be available as a podcast. And let's take this away.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, and catch you up later. Yeah. So while we are waiting for Meindert to swap place with Alex, so we are destined to set up a technology proof of concept by the end of the year in a very limited context, where we can prove and test and validate all the aspects that we are working on in the different streams. So not the least, all the technical stuff. So creating the token, having a blockchain running, doing the systems integration with some solar panel setups that we are going to find. Getting real on the ground proof of what we're working on. So Meindert, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Jos. Good to be here.
Yeah.
As you just shortly introduced, Meindert Jansberg, representing Catena Investments. We run the power program, Catena Power, and last year we issued a bond based on tokens as a first step to really get an asset token, the token of a solar panel, and bring it to the investment market. So that's for the first step, as just discussed, the goal. Of course, we are able to create a token with a solar panel. That's technically possible. That's not too difficult, but to build the complete environment and to bring it into a wallet to a certain group of users or investors, that's the next step and challenge that is lying ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So more than thrilled to be participating on that and make it come to life.
Yeah, because that's the goal, to see it working.
Yeah. And the next project you have is a windmill. Is that right? So you've had one other project as well besides the solar panel project.
Yeah. The windmill, we issued a bond over there, which is a tokenized bond. We used the Bondex platform on that. It took quite some steps to get there. And the next step is from moving from the liability side of the balance sheet to the asset side of the balance sheet, and actually more or less eliminating the liability side, and that gives a lot of new opportunities for investing and structuring finance.
Okay, so let's start a poll on this use case. What our audience thinks about it. So you're allowed to give some answers on this statement. While we're waiting for
so there's one bullet point that was not covered, which was about risk mitigation by using tokenization. You want to elaborate on that?
Tokenization offers the advantage of tokenization is that it's based on blockchain technologies. And it also means, for example, if I'm a citizen here in the Netherlands and I'm investing in Germany or Belgium or even Australia, that with blockchain and tokens, I can check myself if the asset is there, if it's existing, if it's really there. So it takes a lot of boundaries away, which makes it much easier to invest in all kinds of assets, but also, and therefore lowering the risk of getting into these assets as an investor or end user. There is little discussion on what happened, because it's all registered and you can see what are the authentic documents and ownership, proof of ownership.
Right. Yeah. So the full provenance from the crypto anchor all the way down to your token. And everything.
And transparency reporting.
Yeah. You can follow the whole path downstream.
Yeah.
So the questionnaire says?
Yeah, the questionnaire says that 71% of our participants say it's very promising use case, and 29% say, well, this might work. So there is still some doubt on all the nuts and bolts, I think. So why am I so passionate about tokenizing in the energy? Is that I think both the energy sector and the financial sector are crucial elements in each economy. Hence, it's heavily regulated, and both industries use a lot of jargon.
Yeah.
And that means it's very intransparent and very hard to enter and access. And that imposes all kinds of risks. Yeah, so a risk of regulatory changes because you're not in the industry, so you don't know what's playing.
Yeah.
But also lack of transparency. Yeah, as we just discussed. The current way of working is my observation when I talk to all kinds of utilities and investors in the industry is they use auditors. Send them out into the field, doing in-field audits, which is a huge cost. And risks are being assessed by actuaries. So with insurance products, in order to take away those risks, and with tokenization and more transparency, hopefully we can create a new way of investment, and also making then smaller projects available for investments.
Absolutely.
So as already discussed, I think by Alex, so in the introduction, so we are using two foundational building blocks. So one is the Interworking Alliance. So 2Tokens is member of the Interworking Alliance, which is a big non-profit that is working on tokenization. And one of the things that they have created is the token taxonomy framework. And we will use the token taxonomy framework to define and specify the token. The mechanism is such that it's a non-technical way of specifying the token, so everyone can assess it, can analyze it, and can understand the impacts. So that's one. The other aspect is the ITSA, the International Token Standardization Association, with the ambition that we register our token that we create in that register, so that is also available for other projects to use and to benefit and to leverage.
So we can do cross-chain initiatives.
That is my ambition, to have cross-chain initiatives, so that if the token is widely used, that it doesn't matter what chain you use, what blockchain technology you use, but you can then interchange those tokens across all those networks. Let's go into then the team. So I think that the top row, I think already was introduced, right? So David is a co-captain. Currently, he's prohibited due to personal reasons. He could not be here. And Jelle van der Pol has a double booking. He's a token mentor because he was involved in a tokenization project of 2Tokens last year, creating the token to run the 2Tokens organization.
Right.
Too many tokens in one sentence. Yeah, so that brings us to the mission and objectives. Can I ask Leon? So
our mission is really to showcase what's possible. I guess, as Alex calls it, the coalition of the willing. And I think everyone that's involved with this initiative wants to actually build physical assets and provide this harnessing of a renewables resource. We really have a mission to enable this type of crypto anchor, our Unity chip, on a variety of these renewable assets. We're starting by, in Australia, eating our own dog food, making sure that we live and breathe and actually operate the farms that we're building. And then by taking this learning and sharing it with the ecosystem, we want to eventually make the chip not a retrofit product to the infrastructure, but embedded actually in the solar panels themselves. So we're on a longer term kind of runway. This is not a short term mission for us. And we see not just tokenizing of kilowatt hours, but carbon credits, and eventually even tokenizing the data that comes off these sorts of parks is very important for pricing and price discovery, and for transparency, that the data is shared in a public and type of data oracle way. And this is really our mission, to bootstrap the ecosystem and to do this in a partnering way.
And you can use this data for the decision to do storage, or to choose for an alternative,
or to even charge your Tesla.
or
You
charge your
need to be
Tesla,
able to signal what is a trade.
Yeah. So and in our outset and architecture, it's fair to say that the crypto anchors can have multiple instantiations. So we start with your crypto anchor because it's already available.
Yeah.
So it's a quick start to prove the concept, but it's not exclusively bound to one technology, as we already explained. Yeah. It's an open technology, an open platform. Yeah. So everyone can have its go on its own implementation. Yeah, so I think it's a good way of asking the next poll what the audience thinks about the ambition of our project. Yeah, so we get a sense of feeling if we are too ambitious, or that's a goal that is very, very easy to reach. Yeah.
So we have to let the question percolate for a little bit here.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
Take some time.
Yeah. Yeah. So most answers so far are, so they're eager to see the MVP.
Yeah.
They want to see the proof. Yeah. So that makes sense. And there are some answers saying that the bar is too high. Yeah, our ambition is too high. So yeah. So let's prove wrong.
Yeah, let's prove wrong. That seems
prove
good.
wrong. Yeah. So and I'm rather confident, like Leon, because from a technology standpoint, we've done similar projects. We know how to build it. We know how to do it. So it's not so much that we need to do research. It's more on application, finding a new way of constructing it. But there is no fundamental research.
So why a crypto anchor versus a smart meter?
Oh, so it's, a crypto anchor is a term of an undisputable connection between the physical phenomena and the data representation that comes of it. And the smart meter can indeed be a crypto anchor, because it's already established in the market as a source of billing determinant data. So there's a lot of trust, there is a lot of regulation. And there are a lot of different implementations. And each grid connection already has that meter capability installed. So that's actually one of the leadways into the impact of the different roles in the ecosystem. Yeah, so the meter operator, I think, is a first natural candidate to be the minting entity in our ecosystem, right? And then we go into more detail level on the asset level behind the meter, where we can go down to the granularity of a single solar panel. Yeah.
And then it becomes interesting, because if we're able to have the actual profit and loss account of a single solar panel, a whole new variety of options arises. It gives you the possibility of different funding structures, because I actually can produce a P&L on
a fractional solar panel.
On a fractional solar panel. Yeah. And it gives us much more questions, physical questions, than just putting an anchor on such a system. Because you have also shared infrastructure, like all kinds of cables. You need to lease land, ownership of a roof or land, so you need to come up with
management, grid connection. Yeah.
You need to find solutions for all these questions. So from a very simple point of view, it's rather easy to put a panel into a token. But then if you combine a lot of panels, then you need a management system. And you need to organize something. And how does such a mini market work? How do you settle costs?
So there's almost a hyper-local market for those electrons.
Yeah.
And then there's a national or maybe even a community market, like a metro area.
Yeah, and if we look to the markets, to business models and markets that are around, there are enough examples where you have fractional ownership with a sort of contribution to the general purpose of maintenance and grid connection, for example. We can borrow ideas. It's just borrowing, look at other systems, integrate them, and try them out.
So yeah, so very interesting to learn and to see what different options there are available.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we defined as a steering group the success criteria for this initiative, right? So, and one of the criteria is to have tangible results, and tangible meaning that we need to come up with a technical platform. So BlockLab, which was not able to attend this afternoon, has put it is up for implementing it, meaning that they will build a token, they will create some wallet. And will be partially busy with systems integration. So and together with the 2Tokens Foundation, we will create papers and presentations and videos, webcasts like this, to share our learnings and our questions. We will, as already explained, right? So the token definition and registration will be done in public using the token taxonomy framework and the ITSA register. So, and we will also create some recommendations from legal and regulatory aspects.
So in Australia, we'll be deploying some of these models in our own environment there. There's a different type of regulation compared to Europe. But then we want to share those results and contrast and compare. What can we do with property rights in Australia versus Europe? How can we protect the stakeholders in using a rule of law type of anchor? Not just a crypto anchor, but a way that we can give binding results as far as yield goes for these types of assets. So it's really this type of fintech layer on top of infrastructure now.
Yeah. So I think that this initiative is confined within the Dutch regulatory domain, and we all have some parallel ambitions and projects, like Leon explained in Australia. Like Minded explained in Germany, some activities. So, and I have perhaps some other initiatives in other parts of the world. So, but it will all be founded on the groundwork that we do in this initiative. And we started off in the Netherlands because it's our home country. We have easy access to all expertise. So which would be quite difficult to do internationally.
Because this is a different way of system integration. You're passing through legislation, tax issues, ownership registers, funding models. You have a completely different approach if you look at it in this way. So we already know for sure that the current systems and circumstances will need to adapt to make this possible in the future.
Yeah.
So there's another poll coming up, but we're talking about adoption and what kind of way that we can get the industry to adopt this kind of strategy. We already have the industry engagement with the Port of Rotterdam and BlockLab, Katana Investments, and your Green Fund. Has provided this kind of introduction, so leading the cause, but we're looking to bring more capital to the opportunity and to then bring this to other markets, maybe even community solar rather than industrial solar. So if you look at Port of Rotterdam, that's really an industrial closed system, whereas a community system would have different stakeholders and different requirements.
Yeah, and if you're in such a confined environment, it's easier to get a waiver from some formal regulation that are for nationwide use. So we need to have the waiver for sure, but it's easier to receive it from the regulator to test and experiment.
So we also call that a sandbox, right? So we get to play in an area where the regulation does not take effect. So we're looking for those domains so we can exercise our experience.
Yeah. So and the poll results are in, I think. So the success criteria, 17% is quite heavy lifting. So and 86% they estimate that the criteria are just right for the first year. So that's a good validation. Yeah, and on the list of deliverables, I think it's not a surprise, right? So we elaborated and touched upon it before. So the token taxonomy framework definitions that we will publish. Registration is at the International Token Standardization Association. The proof of concept, consisting of software, hardware, the wallet, the blockchain, IoT connections, integration down to the solar panel. And we will create an adoption roadmap for other parties and our listeners here, if they want to embark on the same project or implement it themselves based on our tokens in their environment. And also some contacts with the government. They are very interested to learn and to see how the industry is experimenting and is finding its new way. So there is also an opportunity for us to recommend to governments in how to move forward. That's not only in the Netherlands, but also for instance, I'm consulting the Department of Energy in the United States on those innovative projects that we are doing, especially in these kinds of scenarios, and also EV, electrical vehicles. Yeah, because
downstream.
Europe is leading the way there.
Absolutely.
So,
And we need to realize this tokenizing of energy step is just the first step, which could affect a whole chain. Because you mentioned EV charging, but also intermittent structures like batteries or whatever will be there. Will be affected by this thought.
Yeah.
In fact, it makes it possible to balance your own energy use, as Alex said in the beginning. And that's a long way, but it's a nice vision to have, that you're able to balance your own energy use. And
well, everyone has a role to play, and
Yeah.
I think millennials and younger,
Yeah.
they also want to walk that talk, right?
Yeah.
To actually provide that. So in a fintech kind of disruption way, the energy ecosystem can be unbundled, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're providing a little bit of disruption to allow that to happen, and then rebundled in a different way. So the fintech industry has also done this, right?
Yeah.
To unbundle what is banking, and then offer a neobank, right? So the same thing is going to happen in the energy market. It's just a regulatory friction, and some of these sandbox opportunities will allow us to exercise that.
Yeah.
For example, if it's possible to have a saving accounts in kilowatt hours, it could be.
We'd like that.
Would be a nice idea. Quite some challenges, but it's really a nice idea. And
so in Australia, the superannuation funds are big investors in solar parks.
Yeah.
So you can understand that if you're going to have a retirement fund, it would be good to have an annuity that year on year is going to at least bring 10, 12% return.
Yeah.
So, but why do you have to wait to retire or have a retirement investment to do that? We know with blockchains, we have immediate liquidity. We have secondary markets. So if someone wants to invest in a solar panel, they can do that almost like a savings account.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
So and that's something I think that's a call to the audience, right? So we are still interested in the second and third order effects of the journey that we just embarked on. We have some ideas ourselves. Yeah. So, but we will welcome some strategic thinkers, to assist us in
some disruptors, please.
Some disruptors.
And just what would be great if you were here in a year time, and that we would be able to show that I can transfer a tokenized solar panel to Leon, and Leon can transfer it to you.
Yeah.
And that we all get a part of the return paid out in euros or kilowatts or whatever we think of.
Yeah.
Carbon credit sharing, you can make it as crazy as possible.
Indeed. Yeah. So let's dive a little bit deeper in scoping and the use case before we ask Jaap to dive into all the economical and business aspects and business modeling aspects. So for now we have said that our anchor concept is fractional ownership. That's something that we're going to start with. Based on the crypto anchors to individual solar panels. Probably there are some other ways of splitting up a solar park as well. So we're going to look into that as those aspects and the impacts of that. And then based on that fractional ownership, you have all kinds of offtake, as we call it. So there will be energy offtake for trading purposes. So that can be trading in the futures market, in the forward market, also in the balancing market. That's already currently possible without any tokens. And then the second one is power offtake. So I was mistaken. So the energy offtake is for balancing. It's for clearing and settlement of the energy being delivered and consumed. Power is for trading. So and then two aspects of tagging the energy. So the green signals in energy tagging, or the certificates of origin as currently exist in Europe, of renewable energy certificates in North America and Australia. And last but not least, and that's something that we need to discover, the data offtake. So what kind of monetization can we create and think based on all the data that we collect, in this new initiative?
Yeah, what does it mean for the power exchanges? Huh?
So there is one question in the chat. How is this different compared to existing networks that are already providing tokenized energy, such as Power Ledger or Energy Web? So I think we all have an understanding of those.
Yes, so those are only two. There are quite some more initiatives,
like
right?
Yeah.
So my observation from a distance is that a lot of those tokenization concepts were started with the idea of ICOs, so getting funding for financing their project. That's a different starting point than that we have here. So we don't call it a cryptocurrency that we are building. We are building tokens. So splitting the financial part with the representation of the physical aspects and the phenomena like energy flows that we experience. And there I see a new opportunity, a new kind of application.
Yeah, actually, it's a security token, which is the ownership of a certain partial ownership of a certain project.
So this does not contemplate a type of utility token or any type of cryptocurrency. No. So I think that's the real difference between these other markets that or other networks that provided this contrived asset called a utility token to then make forward that capability. If someone wants to ask these questions, they're welcome to send through further ones, and we will address those after this particular forum, and do our best to keep you satisfied as far as the Q&A.
Okay. So this is an initial overview of the impact of traditional market participants without a deep engagement with these. And perhaps Jaap, you can chime in and explain and flesh out the approach that you are about to undertake to get the ecosystem modeling from the ground. Can we get the audio of Jaap? Should be okay, Jaap. No. Oh, can you refresh the page, Jaap? Is the cue from the
Tech support.
Sorry for this. Yeah, while we're waiting. So we have identified 6 current participants in the market that are currently being impacted. So for the prosumer, there is on the back of the European Union new energy law a shift going on throughout Europe where the prosumer will become balance responsible. And that's a base requirement for enabling peer-to-peer energy trading. And that means that the prosumer will be faced with multiple trading options. And it's also the expectation that the retailer will take care of a lot of those complexities. Yeah? So although formally it sits in your power, but the current energy
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
But are eager to explore those new opportunities, have the opportunity to do so. And on the left bottom side, the meter operator, right? That's the a party that will be the trusted party for minting the initial tokens based on smart meter reads. So, yep,
if you can hear
ready?
me. Okay, well, then refreshing was probably the problem. Yeah, so we've done quite some work already in the past to develop business models for what we call renewable energy generation in Europe. We developed a methodology for that because what makes energy so very interesting is that it is a physical system. So there is always needed a match between supply and demand to kilowatt hours or megawatt hours. It's very much intertwined with what we call business model aspects. And a business model is what we understand as which actors, which parties are involved, and what do the exchange of economic value with each other. And traditionally, the energy sector was, a bit top-down organized. You had a few large energy suppliers and many customers. So it was very hierarchical organized, and what we today see is that it is very much like a web, the World Wide Web, but then with electricity. And what we do with our method, the value method, is that we model, conceptualize all the relevant parties. So a few are mentioned here, prosumer, retailer, and so on, but the electricity domain is very complex. There are actually many other actors, for example, emergency power, but many more services and actors are in the electricity network available. And what will happen as a result of tokenization is that the complete ecosystem will be innovated and perhaps even more extreme disrupted because of, let's say, peer-to-peer possibilities. This opens complete new business models that are currently not foreseen. With our methodology, we will design various scenarios or various alternatives, if you like, to shape the upcoming ecosystem for tokenized energy networks. And apart from modeling, we can also analyze those networks, for example, for financial sustainability with investment type of assessment methods, but not only, let's say, from a financial perspective, also from an environmental perspective, CO2 emission reduction, for example, and also very important in ecosystems, the possibility or hopefully the impossibility to commit frauds. So what you see in large networks like electricity network is that not everyone behaves honestly. We have done this in another industry, in the telecommunication industry, for instance, for Dutch Telecom, to understand what kind of frauds are possible in the telecommunication network. Well, the same happens if you tokenize also the energy network. It should be open up for new business models, of course, but it should also be safe from a, let's say, financial and security point of view. So that's what we plan to do here.
Very, very interesting, and I'm more than eager to learn and to collaborate and to find how those scenarios will play out. Yeah. The call to action that we have is that we have identified 6 work streams. And one is the technical work stream with 2 major focus areas: one on tokenization, the other on systems integration. A legal work stream, which is focusing on the Dutch law, the regulatory work stream with AFM and ACM. Those are 2 regulatory bodies in the Netherlands, one for the finance industry and the other one for the energy industry. And then the business model economics. So that is Jaap's expertise. So tax implications, and last but not least, marketing. So we have identified workstream leaders already for these work streams, but we are still looking for contributors. So please make yourself known if you are willing to contribute into one of these work streams, which will start not next week, but the week after, due to some public holidays that we have here in the Netherlands. I think we are coming.
So we should mention that you can attend these workshops by video, right? So this is not an in-person workshop.
No, we have a full tool set for remote collaboration.
Yeah.
So and it's a tool set for brainstorming,
Yep.
For,
so we do welcome some new people and
yep.
some other activities. We would like to have your involvement.
So, and I think I want to before we open it up for questions, the final poll that we have here. So if it's an something that the consortium is sound, or do we miss something? And then we can open it up for questions, I think.
Very good.
Or is there something that you want to add, Mine?
I think the call to action is really important to have these work groups filled, because we have ideas, we have the power to execute, but we need the brain power and the people to participate, to co-create this together. It are quite some work streams. It's 6 are mentioned over here. Perhaps a 7 will occur during time. We don't know. We are not for sure. But we only can do this by cooperating, because it's such a complex question. It sounds very simple, but the complexity is huge. So we can use almost every help to solve this puzzle and to show an MVP.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted problem that we need to address.
And therefore we just make it simple with one panel, because otherwise we want to try to solve 11 or 12 problems and we will never get there.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so that's one of the ambitions, right? From the start, we want to have a tangible result by the end of this calendar year. Which is almost we are beyond spring.
Yeah, so this small aspect of a solar panel brings up so much questions. And then we even have talked about windmills, biomass, EV charging, batteries.
Even LED lighting, right?
LED lighting, as we're in. So there is such a huge of other asset classes that has to be discussed after this one, but we need an example. And I'm hoping that this is the coalition of the willing that we will show what can be done.
Indeed. And any other
So the poll, we had some results here, so that they can see that there's a good result. 60-40. This is still some heavy lifting. We all agree. I think we all have our own sort of independent view of how much lifting is required, but this is definitely a team sport. This is not something you can do alone.
Indeed. So and from my perspective, so I see a lot of international interest in this initiative. Being a front runner, I think is a very honorable position to be in. And also the group of coalition of the willing that we have collected around this initiative is very inspiring to me indeed.
And as we often say, you can only learn to walk by falling. So.
Indeed, this is wayfinding the new paths to the future. And not be strangled or restrained to current regulations or current ways of working. All right. So, are there any questions in the chat, Leon?
So I'm just reading the chats. There's some comments here about people happy to contribute. Business model economics, and so you can please reach out. I think there's a form to reach out.
It's 2tokens.org.
2tokens.org
is our landing page.
Yes. And there's ways to link out or capture us on LinkedIn. Provide also some mechanisms for engagement on both either the physical deployments or software deployments. So there's a range of ways that you can contribute. We are looking for pilot sites as well. So if there is a way that we can get involved with other types of infrastructure projects, there is going to have to be a criteria set for that and a funding model set for that. But that's currently what we're looking for as well. So there's one question here from Harry. Is there already a solution for integrating the value token with a network for physical electricity network? In other words, do we have a network operator on board?
Yeah, so a good question. So one of the parties in the Netherlands, Enexis, which is a distribution network operator, also a smart meter operator for consumer connections. So that party is on board. We have worked with I have worked with Enexis over the last couple of years to implement free supplier selection at public charging stations. That's now available in the Enexis area. And it will be a national service if everything goes according to plan in 1-2 years time. Yeah, and that's the first step and building block, as Minot already explained, where you can say, okay, I show up with my vehicle at a public charging station and I can select who supplies my energy. So we are working already on getting all the mechanisms in the current systems more flexible in order to enable and make it work. So
this is very much like a model in the mobile industry where you can choose who's going to be your provider by changing out SIM cards. But in this case, the choice is all done in software.
Yes. Yeah. So and therefore it's more elegant than in petrol stations, which is not possible. Yeah. We can switch supplier on the spot.
Yeah. And what still stays fascinating is that the public gets a role in the merit order of the energy. So if we move to green energy and the public wants to go there, then that merit order will be in an advantage above the traditional sources.
Yeah, it will be influenced by customer demand. Indeed.
Yeah.
That will change the market dynamics.
Yeah, and that means that we have a huge power in this energy transition. If people really, the people really want to change, you're able to change it over the network.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah. So and for those not so close into the energy industry, so the new European regulation demands more competition in retail on one connection. So we are experimenting with having multiple suppliers on one connection to your household. Yeah, doing sub-metering behind the meter on IoT devices. In order also to have an ability for appliance manufacturers to provide a service. So sell you the appliance, including the energy. Yeah. So that will inspire all new dynamics in the and
so this is creating an ecosystem for machine-to-machine energy transactions in a way.
Could be, but that's a long stretch. Yeah. So one of my lessons learned from doing blockchain projects in the energy industry is that you need to accommodate with the current business relationships that exist. So state-owned companies will not very likely change their model to go to consumers. So there will be a B2B to consumer kind of ecosystem. So you need to have intermediaries.
Yep.
So because most utilities and system operators are very risk averse on machine driven economy and algorithms and without any interference or control capabilities.
So we're not in the matrix yet.
We're not in the matrix yet. No.
But don't forget that there are parties in this market who have the responsibility to make sure there is 99.99% uptime.
Yeah, indeed. So. Yeah. So for me, so this whole new opening of possibilities needs to have a symbiotic relationship with humans and with those responsible parties that make sure that the lights is always on and that we can rely on power.
So in Australia, in a distributed network that you may have an embedded network, there's always a retailer of last resort, the retailer that has that ultimate responsibility to have the lights turned on. So this is, for public safety, but also a regulatory burden. If you become an energy retailer, you bear this responsibility. So there is going to be a type of neo retailer kind of evolve, but I think it will evolve first in embedded networks and kind of sandboxes. And this concept of a community energy retailer we find quite exciting as well. We see different pockets of opportunity happening in various parts around Europe, around co-ops. So there's cooperative energy companies, and also in the US, there's co-op-owned energy retailers as well. And they are quite aggressive with some of their decarbonization goals, not just net zero energy, but zero carbon energy. So they're striving to be green, for their total delivery. So We are going to find and highlight different ways that this can be done, and then showcase it by the end of the year.
Okay.
Challenging.
So I think
and
we are
exciting.
about to conclude this webinar, right? So thank you, Minded,
Yeah, thanks.
for explaining Catena and being the executive sponsor on this. Leon for participating.
Thank you,
Jaap remotely from the Free University of Amsterdam. And Alex asked me to call out for the next webinar of 2Tokens that will be explaining the use case of the digital notary. So please watch out the website 2tokens.org to sign up if you are interested in that webinar. So thank you for your attendance, and happy to reach out to you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.